And everything that I have lined up here, it is all in order and all by mouthpieces. Whenever we start here, we start with the simple snaffles. Okay, so this is something you use very early on. A snaffle is anything that breaks in the center here. So you have this is the regular snaffle here. So it has one break in the center. It's full cheek. Full cheek means that it has bars on the side so that it doesn't pull through their mouth. If you look right here, you ever heard of a dog bone? All dog bone means is that it has two breaks. The reason for the double link instead of the single is whenever this lays on the tongue, it has more of a pinching effect. Do you see how it pinches there? Whenever the dog bone lays, you see how it gives more tongue relief? It's not so pinched in the center. Well, people say, oh, well, it's obvious, use the dog bone. Well, the whole point of any of this tack is for the horse to give. So you don't want to give so much that the horse doesn't give to you. Does that make sense? So I'm not necessarily going to a dog bone to start with. When I put a snaffle, I should never have to pull hard enough that it pinches. They should look to get off of it so to keep my hands light. So these are snaffles. Snaffles don't have shanks. Then you come over here and then you have snaffles with shanks. The difference is there is no leverage here. This is direct contact. However high you bring your hand, wherever your point of contact is, that's where you're pulling the head to. Okay? If you pick your hands up, you're picking their head up. If you put your hands down, you're pulling their head down. That's why oftentimes whenever we're working the horses, you see me ridiculously exaggerated with a halter or with the snaffles, because if they argue and I pick my hand up, but you see again and again when people are fighting with the horse, they get higher and their hands get higher. They get higher and their hands get higher. What does the horse do? They're rearing, their head is up, their nose is popped out. We want to leave our hands down. Then when we come to the shanks are indirect pressure. What I mean by that is, yes, you're pulling on the mouth, but really you're putting leverage on their chin. So from the mouthpiece up is called the purchase, and from the mouthpiece down is called the shank. The purchase is just or more important than the shank is. If you have a curb chain and it's hooked right here by the mouthpiece, you can have the longest shank in the world and it doesn't mean anything because there's no leverage. The leverage comes from having something above the mouth to pull against here. Whenever we pull here on the shank, it pulls the curb chain towards us. So if you go to a bit that has a higher purchase, look how much more it pulls into the horse's chin like that. Purchase, shank. And anytime you see a bit like this that has a ring up here where the hanger goes or the leathers go, and then a ring down here by the snaffle and the shank, a lot of people mess up and put the curb chain here on the mouthpiece. If the curb chain's here, there is no action. Look at this ring here. No matter how much I pull it, it stays in the same place. Okay? The pressure that the bit puts on the horse, it comes from the movement of the purchase. You pull here and see how much that purchase comes forward. That's where the pressure comes from. The reason you would make a switch from a snaffle to a snaffle with shanks is to make your job easier. This also really helps whenever it comes to getting a horse one-handed, getting a horse to neck rein, because now wherever I pull, I can pick my hand up or over or anything, and it's asking the horse's head to drop. As opposed to with the snaffle, you're trying to drop your hands. Well, you're going to drop your one hand down. It's difficult like that. So this really helps you gain shoulder control, and it really helps you keep that look that you're looking for with their head down nice and easy without having to be exaggerated about it.
So the curb chain is adding pressure into the bone.
Absolutely.
Pressure of
So let's use this one for example, because this one's obvious. Okay, we'll tighten this up. All right. So whenever we pull this pulls downward. So no matter where I'm pulling, I'm asking that horse's head to go down. Do you see how that pulls this downward? So the more it comes to you, the other thing, the more this shank goes straight down, the more pressure it has. The more the shank comes back to you, the less pressure it has. So this shank here, do you see how it comes from the mouthpiece and it comes a lot towards you? It comes directly towards where you're pulling, well, you're pulling here, it doesn't have a lot of bend, doesn't have a lot of pressure. Whereas on this one, since it comes down and away from you, whenever you pull this, all that movement pulling this ring towards you is going to really drop that horse's head. Okay, and the idea is not to dominate, intimidate, and beat up your horse. The idea is to do it light and easy, what you're doing with a fingertip. Because everything that we've done this week, the easier it is for you, the more likely you are to get it done. If it's physically demanding for you, you keep giving and giving and giving to this horse, getting him nicer tack because he says he wants it, to the point that you don't have any control, and you're having to physically, it's hard to get physical with the horse and to be outthinking the horse. The second we start using muscle, we start getting emotional. The second we start tugging and pulling and sweating, if you're sweating while you're driving your car, there's something wrong. If you're sweating while you're riding your horse, you're doing something wrong. It shouldn't be physically difficult. So all these tools are here to make it lighter and easier. Right, so it's like everything. It's hard to give a one size fits all. Okay, so that's something that trainers would tell their clients, 2 fingers. Again, what are you looking for? What are you trying to accomplish? For a lot of these bits, how tight or loose you have the curb chain really changes how they work. Most of the bars or the snaffles, the curb chain just dictates how much pressure downward that we're putting. But when you start getting into ports, that dictates how it picks up. So now we're going to start talking about bars, snaffles, and shanks. Then these two are bar bits. So we have all different configurations. Okay. So this one here came from Spain. This one's from Colombia. Thank you, Mr. Poop Driver. All right, so everywhere we go, we pick up another bit and the ideology of it. This is something that the Spaniards would use, and you see in this one, it has a little tongue relief. And that's to relieve a little pressure from the horse's tongue. But don't get it confused. Anything that's a bar, that's solid, all these bits are for getting the horse confident and driving against your hands. So when I see folks that they get a bar bit and they try to get the horse soft, that's not the intention. The intention is for the horse to get here. This one came back from England. The intention is for the horse to grab a hold here and to be confident in driving into the bridle. So this would be great for dressage. A lot of gaited horses use bar bits. Get them confident, give them something solid to pull against. So if you have a horse that is not driving with the rear end, okay, so you want them to be more confident in the bridle. That's why you see a lot of Tennessee Walkers that they have a soft mouthpiece like this. This is a Tennessee Walker mouthpiece. A soft mouthpiece like this, but they have a long shank because they want them to be confident in it, but then they want to have enough pressure to be able to hold them back with the horse being confident. So a lot of the horses, dressage horses and gaited horses, you want them driving enough that they use their back end. Because if they're so intimidated and so away from the bit, then they won't drive, they won't push. And a lot of times they will throw off their rhythm, their gait. So understand each one of these bits and bridles, they all have their purpose. Here we have more tongue reliefs. All right, here we have spoon bits. And spoon bits they're called spoon bits because their port looks like a spoon. Pick up your ice cream with it and eat it after you're done with your horse. Okay. All these rollers and everything are to keep the horse comfortable in the mouth. These rollers create saliva, and the horse keeps a wet mouth where it makes them a lot more comfortable carrying the bit. Yeah, they'll be playing with it. It'll roll around. This is sweet metal. I like the small rollers because the big rollers, the rollers like that, you think of the horse's bar like your finger. And what will happen is these never want to sit flat on the horse's bar. They're constantly going one side to the other.
Do you like them?
These here, they sit flat. Since they're all level and even, they sit flat. And This is a real good bit to get a gator horse comfortable. Have them in your hands. Yes, the spoon's smaller. It's just a comfortable all around. It's a good finished bit for a gated horse. You see these shanks? Every time that they put a different curve or a different configuration in these shanks, it's for a different purpose. So this shank right here is called patas de brete, and it's to get the horse comfortable in with a high headset, but in your hands with their nose in. And this just helps support that. So you can put your hands in one place and the horse stays there, right?
What does it mean when somebody's told you that your horse has a hard mouth?
Well, usually when they have a hard mouth, it's just a fancy way of saying that the horse is resistant. They're pulling on you. They don't give to the bridle. And that comes. Yeah, absolutely. So usually it just comes from nobody ever making them or asking them to give. So since they don't flex them, don't bend them, they get a hard mouth.
But if I was using that bit, trying to bend and flex, I wasn't going to get a success.
No, right. No, you can flex and bend with any of this with the right ideology, but certain bits are going to make it easier. This is supposed to make the horse comfortable. This is supposed to. So if I'm having my horse soft and easy and I make him comfortable, if he gets hard on me, yes, I'm still going to flex him and make him with this. I'm not going to change, okay? But that's not the intent of this bit. So a lot of people are doing things and they're asking something with a tool that's not made for that. They're trying to put a screw in with a hammer. You're just making your job more difficult than what it needs to be.
So this size compared to one you've got in your hand, why would you use one or the other?
Okay, so you have a horse that likes to bother a lot with the tongue and bring their tongue over and play around a lot. That big spoon keeps them from bringing their tongue up and over.
That has nothing to do with the size of the horse's mouth or the...
No. A lot of it is trying to find their comfort and their focus. So the horse that plays with a small bit, like you put a bar or snaffle in them and they're always throwing that tongue over and they can't focus because their tongue's never in the right place. All of a sudden you have something that stops them from pulling that tongue out and putting it over. Okay. Now when I was talking about curb chains, remember we were talking about 2 fingers? Well, right here, this is a perfect example. If I tighten this, I pull here, people think that this hits the top of their mouth. With 2 fingers, it never gets there. It never comes close to touching the top of the mouth, right? But that same bit, if I loosen up the curb chain, now, since what? It's more harsh. You're touching different things. So it's more harsh as far as the chain pressure. Whenever you have a tight curb chain, you're putting more leverage on the chain, but the port is not being used at all. Then, if you loosen it, you're not putting any pressure on the chain, on the chin, but you're putting pressure in the top of their mouth, on the roof of their mouth.
Why would you want roof of the mouth pressure over chin?
Because you're trying one and it's not working. They're not giving to it. They've already been pulled on with a little bit for a long time. So say they've been pulled on with a bar and a bar and a bar and they have all this resistance to that chain. You say, oh, okay, buddy. And you pop the chain off and put it real loose. And then the first time they ever get touched in the roof of the mouth, they give. Whether it's the nose, the roof of the mouth, the bottom of the mouth, the bars, the chin, the anything, all you're trying to do is get them to communicate with you. Okay, and the problem is so many of these horses, when they're problem horses, they're not trying to communicate. They're trying to do whatever they want to do. If they like to go fast, they're only trying to go fast. If they don't want to go, it's because they don't, they're not trying. They don't want to bend, it's because it's their idea. So we're just trying to find any of these. All of these are just different ways of trying to get them to communicate with you. And when you find the thing that they say, oh, I don't want that, perfect. That's what we'll use. We'll use it in small doses. I much rather use something in small doses that they don't like, that really gets their attention, than something in big doses that they're okay with. Oh, they're okay with being kicked, so I'm going to pony kick and pony kick and pony kick just for the horse to canter off. Doesn't make sense. He doesn't like the crop. Great. Crop him one time, light fire to him, and then from then on, canter and just pick up the crop. Very quickly, you just say canter and they move off. So much of the horse industry, we're trying to get the horses so comfortable that we don't have any control. Oh, we put this on, they don't like it. Well, we put the bar on, they don't like it. Well, we put the snaffle with shanks, they don't like it. So we put the snaffle, and now the horses, you can't stop them, you can't turn them, but the horse looks happy. They're not shaking their head. Well, you're damn right they're not shaking their head because they're in full control. They do whatever they want. So whatever tool you're using, I don't care what you use, okay? I just care that you're in control, that the horse stops for you, that the horse turns for you, that gets their head. Miss Maggie, will you tell him to go to the back of the barn? Thank you.
I've heard more times than not in Tennessee. Oh, my horse don't like that bit.
Exactly.
I don't use
Well,
that bit.
no,
use that bit.
the tack
he
company,
likes that bit.
the tack companies, they are making a living off of horses not liking stuff, and no educated person saying, hey, you have one horse, you don't need 15 bits. You'll go into places and people have 1, 2 horses and a room full of bits. Okay, I have this so that I leave no horse behind. That any horse that I have, I will keep changing, keep trying, keep going through things until I find something that works. That's why I have them. To be realistic, I believe it. Hey, grab me the twisted snaffle with shanks over there.
What is twisted do?
Twisted make sure that it's not smooth. Not this one in particular, but this is the mouthpiece. So you see this is twisted here. So it's big twist. The smaller the twist, the more uncomfortable it is for the horse. So when you see these snaffles, I mean, this big that you can't see them. Up there, you see it hanging from the top wall. Right, the thinner ones, the thinner it is, the harder it is on a horse. So, oh, there we go. All right, so this is the one, and this is one of my go-tos because I use the, oh, you can give me the twisted snaffle too. I like this because it's twisted, so if I flex left and right, they're not apt to grab a hold of it because there are ridges on it, but it's thick and fat, okay? So it's not uncomfortable to carry whenever they're just carrying it and I'm not putting pressure. You don't see the horses fussy or upset about carrying it. And then when it comes to the shanks, I wanted something that would suggest for him to put his head down. Hey, put your head down, put your head down. I personally like a nice heavy bit, something that they feel whenever I pick up or whenever I release. There we go. So the reason I use this bit on Elegante is doing reining work. And this is the snaffle that I like to do most of my work with when I finish with the halter. And it's the exact same mouthpiece. It's a D-ring snaffle. Fancy way of saying it has a D. See? Looks like a D there. And this is the snaffle that I start with. So I just want the mirroring mouthpiece to go with it. So there's no change there. The only change is I put shanks on. Right, so snaffles aren't going to have a chain. Okay, when you see snaffles on a chain, you think, what are you doing? I see a lot of people that they have a curb chain on a snaffle, but the snaffle doesn't have shanks. There's no leverage, no purchase. So you putting a chain on here is just for looks.
So what about going through the snaffles on O-rings, D-rings, snaffles, and why you use them?
Right, so the different snaffles.
That's where this gets all complicated. Not only do you have to know the purpose of the bit, then some people say you have to know your horse because the depth of the top of your mouth might be a little bit different, so it might be affected a little bit more by
right.
versus other. And then people start adjusting and putting stuff on there, like you said,
right.
Like chain that you don't need. Not only is it a long shank, but where it attaches to, because that changes your physics.
Right, so for the snaffle, there's no curb chain. Let's start there.
Right.
The D-ring or the O-ring or anything, they're just talking about the side of the snaffle. The mouthpiece is a whole nother topic of how thin, how thick, how square, how round it is. A full cheek is just the bar. Up there you see an O-ring snaffle. Okay, you see the O right there, and there's a full cheek there, the one with the bars on the side.
And that's just to make sure it doesn't go through.
Right, just to make sure it doesn't go through. But that is the point of the O-ring and the point of the D-ring. The reason that there's wide stuff on the side of a snaffle is so that it doesn't go through their mouth.
What's the difference?
Right. The matter of opinion. Do you like Nikes or do you like Reebok? Do you like Ford or do you like Chevy? All of this stuff you can get the same results. There's nothing here that we can't get the same results. Some of them makes it easier than others. After I came back from the School of Equestrian Art from Spain, I really liked, and my father always liked, heavier bits. Okay, we liked heavier bits because it's substantial. The horse feels it. They feel when you release. They feel when you pick up on it. So you're not having to go ape shit on them and pull it for them to start feeling it. When people get so light and so dainty, well then you really have to get after them for them to recognize. So you see on this one, it's a heavy snaffle to start with. They get used to carrying. When it has slobber straps, the slobber straps here are so when I pull back, when I let go, it's a big release and it's just even more weight. Thank you. Thank you. Encouraging them to drop their head, to relax, drop their head, relax. Whenever I switch from that snaffle to this snaffle, it's more for head carriage. Okay, it's because I'm trying to drop and lower their head, drop and lower their head, and I'm trying to get where I'm just on one hand, you know, where I'm neck reining. And this really helps me get shoulder control. Now we can gain shoulder control just with a halter. We can gain shoulder control just with a snaffle. But it's so much easier when you have the shanks. So why is easier important? Because the easier it is, the less time the horse spends confused. Okay? The less time the horse spends confused, the happier my client is, because I'm able to get so much further than what I would have gotten if I only would have had one tool. If I would have just had one halter, I could have done the exact same thing with that horse, but it may have taken me 3 months instead of the 1 month. It may have taken me 5 months. But since I'm able to be exaggerated with him and let him know exactly what I'm looking for, it makes my job easier, which makes the horse understand quicker.
If I have I've got a gaited horse,
Okay.
I don't show, I just ride for pleasure, but I ride with almost the exact same bit I use on Chisholm, which is something like this. I don't have these things on the side.
Right.
But it's more like the dog bone because it has the little copper roll in the center.
Okay.
Is that correct? Did I call it the right thing?
If it's a roller,
Yeah.
like a miler.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But this is copper.
right. So the copper is just for flavoring. It does the same job.
Right.
So this is a miler design, and what it does is to make the shanks independent. So they move independently of each other, whereas a snaffle or the other bits, whenever you pull, both of the shanks are going to be affected, okay, in some way because it's connected, right? So this allows you to pick up on one side. Really good, again, for shoulder control and pretty soft and easy on the horse.
So I wouldn't necessarily, because of the gaited horse, need to
No,
switch to something else.
no.
Okay.
The people who come up with these, it's scientifically proven. You need a gated saddle, you need a gated bit, you need a gated this, a gated that. You've seen it again and again. We've started horses, we've worked horses, we've done different horses that they're wearing a Western saddle, a halter, and they gait fine. Okay? The people who come up with all this information are the same people who are paid by the companies to come up with this information. Hey, drink milk. Scientists have proven it makes your bones strong. Who paid those scientists? The milk company. Okay? Well, it's the same thing with the saddle company. They come up with all this information that every horse needs its own. Can you imagine in my line of work, if I had to have a saddle for each horse, I'd have to get 400 saddles a year. It's just not logical. A good pad. All right, moving on.
So my art
Yeah, this one in particular didn't. Whenever we pull here, this one you see it has some awkward little pads on the side. So this is really meant to push on the side of the horse's face and just get direction. So this is really like a time event bit. This is to get all go, no whoa. You're just trying to get that horse to run as fast as they can and get that horse pulled around. So these little pads will be on his face, and whenever you pull this way, there will be very little slowing them down and a lot of them getting them to go.
would that be a good barrel?
Yeah, good for barrels, good for poles, good for anything timed event.
Do you have milers that have shanks?
Yes, I do.
Do they make these for children?
But the general idea for us, we shouldn't be messing too much around with bits, because when you're adding different stuff in there, you don't know what you're doing, you're throwing it off.
Absolutely. Hey, Jay, I'll take that.
What about the tom thumb?
So this is my miler that I use for Fandango at the moment. Okay, you see this is shanks. So same mouthpiece, but this one here is to drop a head, to get the horse really giving, drop the head, get them soft and easy, makes the horse comfortable, has a big tongue relief, and you see it has a curb chain. Tom Thumb are great bits, been around forever in every tack shop across America. Again, you have all these different levels, and each Tom Thumb is just the brand. There's so many different makes and models of what they do, and depending upon how long the shanks are, how long the purchase is how much pressure they have. So here you have broken spoons, and the reason that these are broken is the more movement and the more movement and flexibility that a bit has, the softer and easier the bit is on the horse. So you may have a horse that just reacts ugly to having a solid bit. So you give them a soft bit that has some give to it, and all of a sudden they accept that better. Personally, my end goal is to always have a solid bit if I can get there. You know, something that doesn't have a lot of movement, because the less movement, the less correction. So you say, oh, well, why don't you just use a soft bit on everybody? The more movement's there, the more you're gonna have to communicate to get them to do stuff. So a lot of times when you see folks and they have their finished horse and they have a long shank on them, okay, and a stern mouthpiece, it's because they're doing nothing. I mean, they are thinking these things and the horse is doing it. That's what folks don't understand. This is not to torture a horse. This is not to beat a horse with it. It's to communicate with the horse. And ideally, you start with something that has a lot of margin of error, snaffles that you can really pull side to side, and then you get somewhere that you don't even move your hand.
It's the same way you're talking about exaggerated movements at the beginning and starting.
Exactly. Okay, on place. Now this here, again, it just goes to show you how you can look at our style and look at what we do and how we've incorporated so many different disciplines. This is an inverted bit, or you could call it a lifter bit. This comes from saddlebreds, and you see it looks funky because instead of the shank coming down, the purchase comes up and the shank goes up and then down. This is the only bit on the wall that suggests the horse to bring its head up. All right, so this is the only one that you stop a horse with this and they pick their head up. Okay, it's like that because saddlebreds need to have their head like a giraffe, as high in the air as possible. So some genius figured out, oh, if we put the shank the wrong way, if we go upwards instead of downwards with it, whenever we pull on them, they're going to say, hey, pick their head up, which is really good for a gaited horse, for a dressage horse that is constantly ducking his head on you, ducking his head on you. Well, here, instead of arguing with them to pick it up, you can just leave your hands in one place, and whenever they drop their head, they run into that pressure, and they say, oh, I'll keep my hands up. I'll keep my head up. I've won, with this one here, I've won 3 or 4 national titles with it. This is, yep, on Pasos. Yeah, this is the one that Babalu won the Grand with.
So it's a bit like the one you're using on one face. So right now, you know, I'm doing this, but eventually,
Yeah,
I'll be able to lower it from this.
Absolutely, you'll be able to put your hands wherever you want. Right now we're being exaggerated because we're trying to go as far and as fast as we can. If you want to go fast with the horse, be as exaggerated as possible. Here we have the open ports. All right, and it's just like what it sounds like. We have bits here that the port is open, hollow for their tongue to have tongue relief, but has a port, and these are broken. Again, a lot of movement. And now you're just getting nitpicky about what you're trying to find, and you're trying to find the perfect way to communicate with your horse.
So on that, can you just add if you're trying to get the finished horse, trying to still get their attention.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good bit for a close to finished horse. For me personally, I like on a finished horse again a solid bit. So if we compare these two bits, they're almost identical. Okay, these shanks are a little straighter, and this mouthpiece is solid. I would prefer this one because on my finished horse, I don't want to move my hands at all. So the less that the bit moves, the less my hands have to move. So this is an open port, and you'll notice that it has, I mean, almost a completely straight shank. What does that mean? That means whenever I pull this, I mean, I can stand this port straight up in their mouth, or you can put a good bit of pressure by having a tight curb chain. Because whenever you pull here, since the shank is going down, there's a lot of movement that can come back to you. Okay? Again, why is that important? Because you want to be able to communicate when the horse is finished as lightly as possible. So the more pressure a bit is capable of, the less you're going to have to touch it to make it happen. Does that make sense? A lot of people think when a bit is capable of more, that's worse. Oh, that's horrible. No, the idea is that, like Theodore Roosevelt said, you walk quietly and carry a big stick. I don't want to ever have to pull hard on my horse. So if the horse can feel, oh, this one's serious, I better pay attention, you can have their head in the game for an awesome performance just because they know, hey, I better respect this. That doesn't mean you have to ride on every day with it, but come game time, you put this on and you have that horse 100% paying attention right then and there. Look at any performance at the highest form. Watch the Olympics, watch national championships, watch the world championships. They're going to use the most pressure that is allowed by the rules to use. Not because they need it, because the horse at that highest level are trained through the teeth, but they want to have that horse's undivided attention. And whenever they get to the highest levels, the horse knows the difference. He's been trained for years and years. So they want to make sure, hey, be with me, Pay attention, 100%, everything you've got. And if they have something that the horse really respects, they can count that that horse is going to be there.
And so to that point, you can practice with other bits
Absolutely.
and use that.
Yeah, it's not uncommon at all. So when I was competing, if I had a horse, I've already tested what I thought would work good on the horse. And if I have something, the horse comes out amazing, like a freak, okay, and just does everything he's supposed to do, doesn't test me, doesn't even touch my hands, coughs like this, doesn't even, for no reason, test me. I won't put that bit on him again till game day. Like, I'll take that, I'll put a mental note, hey, this is the bit for this horse, and then I'll save it to the side, and I'll give the lesser version of that for practice, because I want him to try hard in practice, but I don't want his peak. A lot of folks want peak every day. If you peak every day, you're gonna burn out. I want the peak on the day that it counts. Cathedral ports. So this is the end of our bit tour, and you see a cathedral port here. And people see this and they say, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. Okay, this bit will get you run away with. The higher that port goes up into their mouth, the thicker the bone is in their face. So right there close to their nose, it's a thin bone. When you start getting higher and higher, that bone gets thicker and thicker. So this is not meant to stop a runaway horse, okay? This is meant, so it has a balance point. It's supposed to be off balance, so that whenever the horse sticks his nose up, this is gonna stand up in his mouth, right? Whenever he puts his nose down, it doesn't. So you see right there, whenever I straighten it up, it pops up, and this is gonna lay on the top of his mouth, and whenever he puts his nose down, it lays against his tongue. He would rather have it lay against his tongue, so on its own, it's already giving the horse a head carriage with the nose down, So this is very buckaroo style to use. You know, American Northwest, they use these. You'll see them a lot with the Basels, you know, the braided leather Basels, and a bit like this on them. And it's to get that natural head carriage of keep your head down, keep your head down. But the intention is for you not to be the one putting your head down. Where you'll see what we do is a lot like reining. We use the snaffle with shanks, and we're telling them, hey, put their head down because I said it. Please put your head down right now. This is more letting that weight and this being unbalanced, look for them to put their head down. But a lot of people will get run away with this because they'll see this in the store and say, oh, big bit, my horse doesn't stop, I'll use this. And they put this in, and there's just so much surface area on the top of their mouth that horse just grabs it and takes them, just runs off with them. Again, none of this is to skip communication. If your horse doesn't stop, the bigger bit isn't gonna make them stop. Teaching them how to stop, teaching them how to be respectful is what's gonna get them stopped. Up here you see all these different configurations of hackamores and Basels, and there were so many more. And there's all nose bands and bottom pieces. All this was to get different headsets. This was all pre-mastering the halter, and I kept thinking, just these bits is a lifetime of education in itself. All right, I mean, there's so many thousands of configurations. Well, then when you go to the Basels and the hackamores, that's a lifetime of education just in itself there. So many different configurations. So what did I want to do? I wanted to make our style so easy that the monkeys at NASA could do it. So when I started realizing, oh, we're starting with a halter, then we're going to a hackamore, then we're going to a snaffle, and snaffle with shanks, then finished bit. Well, how can we get out of going to the hackamore? And the way that I did that is with one little clip. So you see here, there's a clip here. Whenever you are starting a horse, it's fine to be super loose, okay, and have that halter just ridiculously big for the horse's face, so that whenever you pull right, it's just only touching the left face, okay? A lot of margin of error in here. As I get the horse more finished, I put this to snub it up on their face. Now there's less margin of error, and I can start calling for the horse's head to come down, for them to turn, for them to move body parts. When you see that I'm disengaging hindquarters and moving shoulders and spinning and sliding and things with a halter, that didn't happen until I figured out how to put the clip. Because before that, the halter would raise up on the horse's face if I pull straight back. Now it stays snub. So with the clip on it, this is the equivalent of a Western Basel, you know, the leather Basels, with the difference that the horse already really respects this. That Western Basel is good on a horse that is already giving, and a horse that has more wool than go. But on a sensitive horse, on a Paso, on Arabian, that horse will, you'll say whoa, and they'll just keep going. So we've really mastered our halter work so that we can get you guys away from this, from these hackamores and the Basels and having to make more decisions than you need to.
Can you trailer in this? Or
Absolutely. So she asked, can you trailer in this? Yes. Yeah.
can you do that on-
Yeah, it's their job to give to the pressure. The only thing I don't use it for too much, and you can if you have a real wild horse, is for bathing, and that's just for the longevity of the halter.
But you wouldn't want to transport it with that, right? On a rope halter.
Yeah, that's I have no problem transporting rope halters. Yeah.
No, because I always heard that, you know, if that's something that's going to break away. You know,
Right.
So what's your,
Anytime, if I was worried about a horse breaking away, I wouldn't tie the horse.
or like they had an accident?
Right. So again, if I'm so concerned about the accident that I put something that breaks, I say, hey, don't tie him. Leave him loose in the trailer. A lot of people do. That's if you're concerned about it. Because if it breaks away for an accident, that means the horse can break it anytime they want. Like if it breaks for any reason, that 1,000-pound animal can say, no, thank you. The first time that your perfectly give the pressure, tie up horse breaks their halter, now you have a problem. Because now they're going to try.
So in a trailer, you don't use that. You're gonna get a breakaway.
Right? No. Again, no, make one decision or the other. I have no problem. If you say, hey, my horse is not safe being tied up, and I truly believe that if we crash and they're tied up, they're worse for wear. Okay, if that's your outlook, I have no problem with that. Just don't tie the horse. You know, put them in the slant or put them in the box and leave them loose. Okay?
Is there ever a time like with a horse like Alabama that I would, my goal would be to ride him and do something like that all the time, or is it appropriate? I think we should make the whole bit appropriate for him.
Okay, so Elegante, she has a great question. I'm riding him in a bit right now. Is it ever appropriate to ride him in a halter? That horse rides in a halter.
Yeah, he does.
If he doesn't, we wouldn't have put him in the bit. Understand, we're not riding your horse in this bit because he has to go in this bit. We're riding him in this bit because we have a job that we're trying to obtain, which is reining. We want him to drop his head, canter off easy, spin easy, side pass easy. So we're using a tool that helps us with that. But that does not mean that we can't ride him with a snaffle or with a halter or whatever we want to. The day that you're not working on that and you're not really trying to get him to drop his head, then fine. Just use the halter and you're good to go.
On a tame trail.
Absolutely. No, take a halter.
But I want to make sure that he's really good at consistently getting, if I want to canter on trail,
Yes,
I'd want to make sure he's really good at lowering the head
absolutely.
before I put him in that one.
Yes, if you're trying to drop his head and get him to canter. With that, he's going to be under control. But if he's popping his head up with the bit, you know that's designed to drop his head, then you know with the halter, it's going to be even more difficult to get him to drop his head. Yeah, so just work more and more until he gets softer and easier, and then you can make adjustments to lighten up on your horse.
Ride this with him.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our video. Make sure to get in the comments below and give us your feedback. Let us know what all problems you're having, if you're having any problems with the steps, if there's more videos or problems that you would like to see. We just want to better help you bond with your horse and help fix some of your equine problems and reach your equine goals.